Hello, this is Postdoc Chronicles, week 109, and as you can see right here, we're featuring the Taiko no Tatsujin on the various handhelds. So currently, I've been enjoying this a lot on my Nintendo Switch. So I got this on the Nintendo Switch, I believe, in 2018, and alongside it, I also obtained the Taiko drums accessories. It's really very fun if you have, the Taiko drums accessories before, because you can really feel that you're drumming. But basically, for those of you who haven't heard, Taiko no Tatsujin is a rhythm game that is based on a drum, and it's just two beats, based on I believe the taiko instrument in Japan. And then you have two beats, the don and the kat. And basically, so the don is you hit the drum on the face, and then the kat is you hit the drum on the side. And yeah, it's a very it's a very nice series. Usually the songs are in Japanese, so mostly K-pop or no, not K-pop, J-pop songs. And then you have original songs from Namco, because this is like by Namco Bandai. And also you get songs from anime, or even game themes from game songs. And then sometimes they remix songs from classical songs and all those stuff. And yeah, so the nice thing is, even though you can only play it on one console, and then you would think there's no reason to go back on the older ones. The nice thing is, the one on the 3DS, I believe it's called the Taiko no Tatsujin Mystery Adventure. The one on the Nintendo Switch, it's called the Drum and Fun. And then on the PS Vita, it's called the Taiko no Tatsujin Drum Master. So the nice thing is, both all these versions, they do come with a different songs built in. So for example, there are like some anime openings that you can only play on the 3DS. For example, there are some that are only on the PS Vita. And then the newer ones, of course, is the one on the Nintendo Switch. But so far, I've really been enjoying playing a lot on the Nintendo Switch, because usually I don't play this without my taiko drums, because like I usually set up my taiko drums on the TV and then hit it with the drums. But sometimes it can be so noisy, especially if you have like neighbors and stuff. But lately I've discovered, I tried like popping it up one day, because there's like a new update. I discovered that you can actually play it very well with a touchscreen, because the tapping action on the touchscreen resembles that of using a drum, or the drumsticks, in the taiko drum accessories. So it's been so much fun so far. So I've been enjoying. Usually I just play with anime openings that I'm familiar with, like the Evangelion opening, or Digimon opening, all those things, or the more recent ones like Kimetsu no Yaiba opening, and all those stuff. But on the PS Vita, for example, the weird thing about the Vita version is that even though Vita supports touchscreen, you can't use the touchscreen control that is being supported by the Nintendo Switch. So here it's buttons only, but it's fine. But yeah, sometimes it feels well to use touchscreen. On the 3DS, it uses the touchscreen support. Of course, you can drum the bottom screen, but I still prefer using button controls on the 3DS. And the reason is that, if you recall, the touchscreen on the Nintendo 3DS is resistive. That means it is triggered by pressure instead of contact. So older technologies that rely on touchscreens, because before the advent of the capacitive screens, which of course is used by the Switch and the PS Vita, we have the resistance touchscreen. So you have to, like, it's pressure based. It's triggered by pressure. So you have to push like a little bit harder in order for it to register. So sometimes, even if you're drumming, if your drum is not like hard enough, then it won't register here. So it's better to play on the Nintendo 3DS using buttons. But it would have been nice, if they placed the touch control on the Vita, knowing that it is capacitive. But all those things is on the Nintendo Switch. And on top of that, so you can do touch, you can do buttons. On top of that, you can even remove the Joy Cons, and then do the actions using motion controls. But the thing is, it's not very accurate, because when you do a don action, it has to be a straight downward motion. If you use a cut, it has to be like a flick sideways. So sometimes they don't register at all. Or alternatively, you can do one downward motion, and then every time you go down, it's done. But then if you want to do a cut, you do the action, but then you have to press a ZR, for example. But yeah, so far it's very nice. So sometimes I just play on my 3DS, sometimes on the Vita, but sometimes on the Nintendo Switch. But enough of that. Let's keep these my handheld consoles, which are very cool. And also, I'm reading actually on my Kindle again. Right now I'm on a what do you call this? A binge reading Stephen King's short stories. And the next thing is, last night I read the short story entitled, I think, I Am the Doorway, or I Am the yeah, I am the doorway, and yeah, it has something to do with the alien, a guy that was like that obtained some parasites from Venus, and it's very interesting because yesterday paper was published in Nature that somehow there are phosphine gas being detected in the clouds that can only be explained by an unknown chemical process that we still don't know, or because in on Earth we know that phosphine gases are produced by biological creatures, so it could signify life on Venus. But yeah, it's very interesting. Like I read I Am the Doorway, and then you had that result. But anyway, let's go to postdoc very quickly. So last week I was talking about the Vincia virtual numerical collider with interleaved antenna. So that's Vincia, and then I was able to reproduce some plots from the Vincia paper, which is very nice. I was able to the Z to EE Drillian to EE process, and then I was able to reproduce the angular correlation as well as the PT distribution. But the thing is, it does not match exactly, of course, the PIFIA it's expected, because the PIFIA that they were using in that paper is the old one, PIFIA 8.215, whereas we're already using PIFIA 8.302. So it's a bit different. In fact, ours, the current one obviously has a bit of an improvement. It matches the data a little bit better. However, the Vincia, I was trying to copy the default settings that was used on the paper. However, there are a lot of settings that you can switch within that paper before, when Vincia was like, initially introduced in, I don't know, early 2010 or something like that. It actually 2008, the first paper, but that one that I'm trying to reproduce is Vincia 2.0. So I believe that's from like 2014 or 2015, something like that. And yeah, some options, some switches are not found anymore in the PIFIA implementation of Vincia. So my Vincia plot looks a little bit different, not that huge, but yeah, it's like I'm still waiting for Giancarlo's opinion on it, if it's good enough. But it looks a little bit different. Maybe again, due to the fact that not all the switches that they use on the initial Vincia paper, the 2.0, is not anymore found in the PIFIA one. And then also, so right now I'm looking at the Dyer paper. So the first Dyer paper is actually, I believe it's, let me check here. I believe it's from the year 2015. Let me check my laptop if that's correct. 2015 or 2016? Yeah, it's 2015. It's called the midpoint between dipole and Parton showers. It's the original paper that introduced Dyer, which basically means a dipole resummation. That's where the acronym Dyer comes from, and it's basically yet another Parton shower algorithm, different to the ones used by Vincia and different to the ones found in the PIFIA default shower model. And again, before, this was a separate plugin that you used on top of your PIFIA, but in the recent 8.3, it has become internal. So again, there's now a switch that you can now call on a DAR without having to introduce or to install the external plugin yourself, which is very useful. So, but the thing is, so I'm doing it with Dyer, and again I'm gonna reproduce the some plots that we have on the paper. But the thing is, right now, on my qualification task, I'm trying to reproduce. I'm trying to look at digest samples, and then the Vincia was fine, the default was fine. However, the Dyer, the process. So again, I'm running it right now. That's just to recheck, but the process runs good locally. Okay, but then when I submit the particular job options onto the grid, it doesn't work. And the thing is, so before that, I've had a problem before, and I was able to solve it by looking at the log.generate. Inadvertently, I was using a build of Athena that was not the build that we Giancarlo and I already fixed in the version of Athena that carries the 8.302 PIFIA, right, with the fixed job options that were having problems before. So that was just the issue. It's straightforward. However, right now, the issue is that even the log generate does not exist. So I don't know, like I'm not sure where to look at, because it seems like it's not doing anything, like, or if it's doing something, it's not logging the stuff that it is doing. I can't find it in a big panda. I can't download the log generate. So this one's gonna be tricky. I don't know what's the problem. So again, just to recheck, I'm running it again on the grid just to convince myself that indeed it works locally. and then I have to investigate why it doesn't work on the grid. But yeah, also the PMSSM Atlas search, so phenomenological minimal supersymmetric standard model. So Deepak asked me to join this particular scan so that I'll have an Atlas project that I'll be working on. So we already started. It's a bit tricky because we're like I'm part of like the first shall we say the first part of the domino, because what I'm gonna be doing is to update the release 19 to release 21, and this release has been old, so there are a lot of changes. So Brian gave me all the stuff that they did in release 19. I tried to run it using the release 19 framework. It works. I was able to work it. But then when I look at the various scripts, the various Python files, and then began updating stuff that are being used in release 21, a lot of errors emerge as expected, and then slowly I've been tweaking a lot. So for example, there are like specific functions that are used in specific Python files. There are specific functions that have been renamed. For example, so instead of build param card, it's now called modify param card. And then the nasty thing is the build param card in the original release 19 that was running in the SUSI generation code, it was like accepting different parameters compared to the newer one. So I had to look at the code again and do that. So far I've covered a lot. However, now I got stuck in the first. There's like a Python file that is not yet in MC16 in release 21. So what I did is I manually downloaded it from MC15 so that it can be called internally instead, even though it's not in MC16. And then there's another problem that I don't know how to figure out yet, something to do with the errors concerning. So I was able to generate the events, but then it stops. So I don't know. So there must be some conflicting issues between the newer functions that are being defined in release 21 compared to release 19. So I have to check and recheck. So that's what I'm doing right now. But yeah, right now I'm still waiting for this dire again. I believe it really lands locally, but I'm just doing it again just to recheck and then figure out why it doesn't work on the grid. But anyway, this has been Postdoc Chronicles week number 109. I'll see you next time. Bye bye.